Welcome to Nice Ashes. I'm Mike.
And I'm Nate. What are we smoking, Mike?
We are smoking the Alec Bradley Filthy Hooligan Black Market. This is the sister cigar to the last one that we smoked.
Also limited edition.
Also great shelf appeal. This one has a Maduro wrapper, spiraled with a green, a natural, and with a natural cap as well.
Yep.
And this one doesn't look as good as the other one.
No.
But it still looks pretty awesome. It's probably the second best looking cigar I've ever seen.
Yes. Now on the wrapper sticker, the plastic over wrapper, right? It had a sticker and it said barber pole. And so it does look like a barber pole. And again, check the episode picture because I have a really nice well-lit picture of the cigar. And so it has the two. I guess the other one would technically be considered barber pole style because it's got, the old-fashioned red and white barber poles that spin outside the barber shop. So that's kind of the style of how they look if you're not able to see the image on the episode. But this was also limited edition. They must release them probably every St. Paddy's Day. I'm sure we're a week and a half, 2 weeks beyond St. Paddy's Day, but they might still have some. And we'll let you know if this is worth the investment, as it's a little spendier than most of the cigars we smoke on this show.
Yes, sir. These look, the only thing that I would say that we've smoked that looks close, as good as shelf appeal, was that Asylum 13 Octagon. And I'm not sure that we smoked it on the show.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't an Asylum 13 Octagon. That was an octagonal press, but it wasn't Asylum 13. It was something else. Oh. And I know because I was just there and I was looking at them. That's a fantastic cigar. If you have the money to do the octagonal press, it had kind of an orangish sub hint taste to it, and kind of a chocolatey. Good. It was very good. I can't remember. Something with a P, though. I think it started with a P. I'm waiting. I'm checking my live feeds now, waiting to get flamed for not remembering the brand of this cigar that we're talking about. Let me, you know what? Just so we can have some of our street cred, I can just Google it.
You're not going to have AI look it up for you?
Well, maybe I am. I don't know. AI could. Oh, Plasencia, Alma Fuerte.
Yeah, those are spendy cigars.
They're spendy. They're sub $30, but high 20s, let's say, per stick.
But it was memorable. It was definitely memorable.
It's memorable. It looks fantastic. The octagonal, they called it a hexagonal. So depending on how good you are with counting and how many fingers you have left after all of your home woodworking projects, it doesn't really matter, other than it's different than a box press and different than the round roll that most people associate with cigars. So very, very good. I highly recommend. Are you getting the acetone taste on this one, Mike, like we did on the previous one?
Extreme acetone start. Yeah. Very acetone.
Yeah.
Not unexpected after the last cigar, but.
Oh, definitely not. Not unexpected at all.
I can already tell this is going to be a lot peppery. It's going to be peppery and spicy. That's my prediction. I'm not an inch in yet, so we'll find out, but.
Yeah. I'm excited. I was excited about both of them, so that's why. That's why I got them. These were impulse buys by Nate for the show.
I'm not going to lie. If I saw these in the store, I would have bought both as well. So
yes.
Hard to resist. These things have incredible shelf appeal. What did they cost a piece? Indeed. I don't think we mentioned it last episode.
I honestly, because I bought them a year ago, I don't remember.
Probably $15.
I'm just going to Google it because, I went and I did these at the Tobacco Grove, not a sponsor, but I went in there again and talked to them, and the guy remembered me. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're that guy with the podcast, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "How are you so dumb?" And I was like, "I don't know." He didn't say that, actually. I'm just teasing. So Cigar Aficionado has the Shamrock at, I think, $13.65 per stick. And the barber pole that we're smoking right now at $11. So they're not really that expensive in the grand scheme of life. Local prices and things might be different. They weren't terrible. They weren't terribly expensive. Like they were they're under $20. I wouldn't spend more than 20 on them for sure.
No, but they're expensive enough to where I expect it to be good.
Yeah, and it's Alec Bradley, and they put their name right on the label, and they've got all the fancy shit, right? So
what are we talking about today, Nate?
All right, and this is a Nate knows, or a Nate kind of knows, but Mike probably also knows just based on who Mike is and his predilections towards finding things on the internet. But I wanted to talk about conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Okay. And I think I've got kind of a meandering path through these conspiracy theories because I don't necessarily want to talk about 9/11 was an inside job or this and that, and some of a lot of the ones kind of in pop culture, I guess. But we're going to talk about a bunch of them. And I also have a list of 11 conspiracy theories that were proven true. So, Mike, this is up to you. I'm going to give you a little agency in this episode of Nate Knows. Do you want to start with the true ones first, as kind of maybe these other ones could be true, or do you want to do the true ones at the end?
We could do the true ones at the end, or you could mix it up and we could guess.
Yeah, my research on this one has been so meandering that I don't really want to mix it up. So it's going to be either beginning or the end.
Your notes are not as organized as you wish they would be.
That is correct. That is correct. Well, and because I think mostly because I have two small children, but also conspiracy theories and trying to look them up is going into a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole. So it's very confusing to think about any of these things, I guess.
It certainly can be.
Why don't I start? You know what? I'm going to start with the one that kind of spawned this topic for me. And then we can decide if we want to do the true ones or if we want to keep going with the ones that, let's just say, and now I'm no big conspiracy theorist kind of person. They're entertaining to make fun of, in my opinion, but I'm not going to sit there and tell you that 9/11 was an inside job. I don't know. Nobody might know. Maybe in 20 years, the truth will come out and maybe it was. And then I'll say, oh, yeah, I thought that was fake, but I guess it's true. So I don't put a lot of stock into these. Some of them are completely and utterly ridiculous, but they're kind of like a guilty pleasure, hearing about these people who believe these things that sound absolutely crazy. Long story short, Mike, I watched a video of this guy. I don't remember his name. I have the video link saved. I can send it to you later if you're interested. It's not a very long video, but he subscribes to the we're all living in a simulation conspiracy theory. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of simulation theory, yes.
All right, so for those of you, I'm just going to summarize this really, really quickly because I don't think I could do it better than the 1999 movie The Matrix did, but basically that's what they believe. They believe we're living in some kind of computer simulation, and there's a lot of memes out there where it's the overlords or whatever, everything got kind of real fucky there for a minute. I'm going to reset the simulation back to 1999 or 2005 or what have you. There's a lot of people out there that believe that our modern state can be traced back to the pinpointed time in history when they shot Harambe, the gorilla.
Are you fucking serious?
Dude, man, that's why I'm telling you, you can go, but so many of these things are interwoven with other conspiracies and other things and stuff like that. So I can't really do one and then the other and then a true one and then a false one and stuff man, I don't know. But they're funny, right? So they're yeah, the only reason we had COVID is because they shot that gorilla back in whatever year that was. Anyway, so the video that I watched believes that we're living in a simulation, more or less like the Matrix, right? You go to work, everything happens. Sometimes there's a glitch that maybe explains deja vu. So anyway, this guy believes that we're living in a simulation, which is fine, right? There's a lot of things that you could maybe use as evidence to say that we're living in a simulation. In and of itself, especially with the state of AI that we're aware of, right? Because if we're aware of the state of AI, there's probably more advanced stuff out there that we're not even aware of yet, potentially.
Most likely, yeah.
On the grand scale of conspiracy theories, us living in a simulation is not really that crazy, just on face value, because there's a lot of unexplained things in life. I don't know. I mean, how would you prove it? There's no way to prove it. or disprove it. Maybe there is. I don't know. Maybe when AI takes all of our jobs, I can sit down and think for a month straight and figure out if we are or not living in a simulation. But beside the point, this person not only believes that we're living in a simulation, but he believes the only thing that we have access to within the simulation that comes from outside the simulation. Are you with me, Mike, so far? Okay. Sometimes you have to say something and you're like, I can't believe I have to say this thing, but I have to say this thing. He believes the only thing that we're allowed access to from outside the simulation is chewing gum. Okay? But I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you why that's important here in just a second. I have to take a puff of my cigar because this stuff, man. All right, so everybody remembers, hopefully, and if you don't, that's fine. And so we're talking about it right now. Do you remember when you're in elementary school and people would tell you if you swallow gum, it stays in your stomach for 7 years?
Yes.
Okay, and you and I both know that that's not true, right?
That would be highly unlikely.
I think there's scientific studies that prove that nothing can remain in your stomach acid for 7 years, unless it's maybe like metal or something. But even metal would be digested within whatever because it's stomach acid, right?
Right.
I mean, that's just... I don't know. We're not doctors, so look it up. I'm not advising that you do or don't swallow gum. So anyway, his premise is the only thing we're allowed access to outside of the simulation is chewing gum. Chewing gum lives in your body for 7 years, and he says scientifically, in a 7-year span, all of the cells in your body die and get replaced. There's a little bit of truth to that, right? Like your cells die and regenerate and you make, new cells and things and certain organs kind of like regenerate. I don't know if those are the right words, but I don't know if it's 7 years for the cell regeneration and things, but I know that your cells, like skin cells, die and new ones grow and hair follicles and things like that. So basically he's saying that because the molecular structure of your body regenerates every 7 years, let's just do like the air quotes or the shaky hand, like kind of sort of every 7 years. He says, as long as you swallow one piece of gum every 7 years, then you can retain yourself throughout the simulation. Because if you don't swallow the gum, your entire body will be regenerated, including your brain and your thoughts and things. And so they can reprogram you every 7 years. Within the simulation. So if you swallow the gum, you basically have like a placeholder in the simulation that prevents you from being regenerated every 7 years. So you can retain your true self every 7 years. But he also...
That explains why I'm different than I was 7 years ago, because I don't swallow gum.
Holy shit. That's where all my hair went. They've been taking my hair. If only I would have swallowed gum.
This sounds insane, by the way.
Dude, it is...
It's highly entertaining, but it's
right?
like not.
It's entertaining as fuck.
Nobody in their right mind would believe this. This is worse than being a rounder shill, Nate. This is worse than being a rounder shill.
I know. And we're going to talk about that too. But but I watched this and I was like, holy shit. But to this person's credit, he did advise to not swallow more than one piece of gum every 7 years because you don't want your works all gummed up by gum, right? So he's trying to look out for you too.
Right.
Every 7 years. So I guess he puts a reminder in his phone and he's like, oh, damn, this is the year I got to swallow gum. Fuck. Is it going to be Big Red? Is it going to be Juicy Fruit? I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something for sure. Trident, maybe? I don't know.
Other than the fact that gum will be digested by your stomach acid, I'm guessing in one day. Sure.
Hey, I mean, at least it's one of those conspiracy theories that has a very, very low cost entry. One stick of gum every 7 years. It's not like Scientology or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was the one that kind of spawned this whole thing. And I was like, I've heard of the simulation theory before, where we're all living in a simulation and whatever. But I was watching this guy talk about this gum, and he's very passionate about your cells regenerate every 7 years, and gum stays in your system every 7 years. So as long as you eat a piece of gum every 7 years, then you're good. And I was kind of like, okay, well, if your cells regenerate every 7 years and gum stays in there every 7 years, if you're being conservative about this whole thing, you'd eat a piece of gum every 6 years to make sure you didn't miss the window. Like, what if you're on the same schedule and they regenerate right before you eat the gum or something? You could be in a synchronous situation where the gum isn't covering you for a portion of it and then you're rebooted and, so I don't know. If it were me and it were my crazy conspiracy theory that I believed in, I would advise people to do it every 6 years. But I don't believe in this stuff, so I'm not advising that, just to be clear. on the podcast, I'm not advising that. But if it were to be me, and it seemed like he was very passionate about the cells regenerating every 7 years. So if you do the math, like just advise 6 years. But that's not my place. I'm not him. So all right. So Mike, it's spin of the wheel. Do you want the true ones, the true conspiracies, or would you like more things that have not yet been proven or disproven?
Let's go with the fake ones. The fake ones are fun.
Sounds good. So this other one I hadn't really heard of, but I was looking up all of these. Actually, it's what are the most unhinged conspiracy theories you've ever heard of? And one of them was that the Middle Ages never happened.
Okay.
This one, I don't know, man. Like, it's not true. Okay. It's just not true. But I thought this one is one that Mike will really, really enjoy because, so this one's called the Phantom Time Conspiracy.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, this is not one of the popular ones. Okay. This is not your flat Earth or essential oils or Scientology or what have you. This is Phantom Time Conspiracy. So basically, it was asserted by this guy or person. I don't know if it's a guy. I can't even pronounce the name. So how would I know? Shame on me for assuming the gender. Heribert Illig, who does not have a blue name on Wikipedia, so we know that they did not have famous parents. But this person proposed this in 1991. Basically, what they are saying is that there was a conspiracy by the Homan. Fun times being Nate right now. The Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. All right, so this is an ancient conspiracy. And what they did. This is what they did to us, Mike, and they stole all of this from us. I just want to preface that up front. They fabricated the Anno Domini dating system retroactively, which is, we don't even use this anymore because it was co-opted by the religious people, right? The Anno Domini is basically AD, right? Which is, I was always told it meant after death.
Yes.
Right, but it doesn't mean that. It means in the year of our Lord. It doesn't mean after death, but BC means before Christ. And our modern usage of this is you have BCE, before the Common Era, and then you have, I don't know if it's CE or is it ACE, CE Common
it's
Era.
CE. Common Era.
But basically, they're saying that the Emperor Otto III, Sylvester II, and the Byzantine Emperor conspired to fabricate this AD dating system retroactively in order to place them in the special year of AD 1000, and this allowed them to rewrite history to legitimize Otto III's claim to the Holy Roman Emperor, and they believe, and the person that thinks this, believe that was achieved through the alteration, misrepresentation, and forgery of documentary and physical evidence. So basically the entire, I'm going to absolutely butcher this, the Carolingian period, including Charlemagne, is a complete fabrication. And there's a phantom time of about 297 years that were made up, which means that instead of being 2024, we're actually in 1727.
What about all the records for China and Japan that corroborate those missing 200 years, as the old Chinese empire kept meticulous records on a year-by-year basis, and they would track movements of animals and farm cycles and famines and rulers, everything, right?
Yes. So I'm so glad you asked, because this is the very next sentence. Evidence contradicts this, because calendars in other European countries, most of Asia, and parts of pre-Columbian America contradict this. So this one is not true at all.
Yeah, I didn't mention the Aztecs and the Mayans, but they have historical records as well.
Yes. Only going up to 2012, though. But, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, another conspiracy theory. Yeah. So basically, this one is fake. But I saw that on the list of kind of like the most unhinged conspiracy theories, that the Middle Ages never happened. And I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? And, you know, I mean, I guess I wouldn't put it past people in power to, especially in that era, where there's really no way to refute that, right? Like the peasants would just be like, whatever. They say it's this year now, I guess. Like, that's what I have to say it is. But, you know, with modern learning and technology and going back to other places in the world, you can't really say there's about 300 years that never happened, because other countries and other civilizations have tracked those things.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway,
I am about halfway through my cigar.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think
It's
so
spicy,
far, Mike?
peppery. It's good. I like it better than the last one. It's more up my...
Me too.
It's more up my alley than the other cigar.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to do just kind of like a fun one next, unless you have any more on the Phantom Time conspiracy.
No, that's ridiculous.
I mean, a lot of these are ridiculous, right? Okay. Unless you believe them and you're one of our listeners and subscribers, then we believe whatever it is you believe. And that's great. And we love you and would love to hear more about it. And actually, like, honestly, that was sarcasm. But honestly, if you truly do subscribe to one of these conspiracy theories or a conspiracy theory that we don't mention, we would actually love to talk to you. And not in like a gotcha kind of way, because that's not what we're about. But I wouldn't mind. Like, I would enjoy having a conspiracy theorist on the show and talking to them.
Absolutely. You're talking to one right now. Aha.
Maybe you are too, Mike. Maybe you are too. See, I believe we are living in a simulation, and I believe the only way to get out of the simulation is to drink copious amounts of booze and smoke cigars. And like and subscribe to Nice Ashes.
There was a South Park episode about that. Jameson whiskey. Okay. That was the solution to living in the simulation.
Well, if Jameson whiskey being the solution is wrong, I sure don't want to be right.
That is correct.
Okay. So the next one here is, and this is, we talked about Taylor Swift last episode. Let's talk a little bit about Miley Cyrus. All right. She came in like a wrecking ball. Or something. Yes. Not really. She came in on a Disney show as a child. But anyway, basically this conspiracy theory, and some of these are kind of like oddly specific. And I'm trying not to talk too much about the oddly specific ones. And this is kind of an oddly specific one, but that's okay. They come in all shapes and sizes. So basically this one is saying that Miley Cyrus's success was because of the death of Eric Clapton's son.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard that one.
No, I don't know what those two things could possibly...
Yeah, I know you're up on all things Miley Cyrus, so that's why I thought you might know.
Oh, I'm the biggest fan.
For all of our listeners out there, it's more likely that Mike would be more knowledgeable about Eric Clapton than he would be about Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, for those who do not know me, it is more likely that I know about Eric Clapton. It is certain that I know more about Robert Johnson than Miley Cyrus.
Yes. Pick any two names. Pick a random first name and a random last name, and it's almost guaranteed Mike knows more about that person than he knows about Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
Here we go. This is how this conspiracy works. Allegedly, the year that Billy Ray Cyrus, who we all know, or we should know, is Miley's dad... He had a major hit, and I'm sure you've heard it, the Achy Breaky Heart.
I've seen the music video.
Yep. So I guess he was supposed to win like the best of everything that year, like the Country Music Awards or whatever the fuck. I don't know. And but that same year, Eric Clapton released his song Tears in Heaven about his son's tragic death. And so that, I guess, moved people to vote for him to win everything.
Yes.
And I guess that inspired Billy Ray Cyrus to make his daughters one of the largest stars, knowing that Eric couldn't do the same for his son. So I guess that's
that's totally unnecessary.
It's completely stupid.
That's not necessary.
I can't believe I had to read that.
For him to want to make his child a Disney star. Why would he give a shit? Yeah. I mean, I guess it sounds dumb, but there are these parent influencers on Instagram who use their kids to get followers and shit. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I mean, Billy Ray Cyrus is a very popular country star, so it's not like he would have to get back at anybody for anything. Right. There's a chance that I would recognize what he looked like if I saw a picture of him. A chance.
Yeah, I mean, at least you've heard of him.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of Billy Ray Cyrus.
He's got a lot of country hits.
Okay, next up, because that was
awful. That was dumb. That was terrible. Okay, so most people have heard of the Flat Earth conspiracy, right?
I think so.
Where they believe that the Earth is flat and there's somehow there's ice or something you can't get it over the edge, right? There's an Arctic ice wall that holds the whole world like a bowl,
And that you're not allowed to go to Antarctica or the North Pole because the ice bowl, you're not allowed to see pictures of the ice bowl.
That's why I can't go there.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with like monetary or like passport or not wanting to freeze my nuts off reasons.
Yeah, you totally can go to both of those places.
You can. But nobody wants to. There's fucking nothing there, okay? There's nothing there.
I almost applied for a job at Antarctica years ago.
I remember that,
because they have tradesmen there to maintain everything, and I almost volunteered or applied to go there.
To maintain the ice wall, Mike?
Yeah. To maintain the ice wall.
I mean, the ice wall doesn't maintain itself. Come on, people. And I want to talk a little bit more about the flat Earth because I was thinking about it in my head, where I do most of my thinking. Sometimes I do my thinking on the toilet, but most of the times it's in my head. Flat Earth, right? Like, if we think about it, think of all of the shit you would see all the time.
Define.
Where I live, I'm outside of Minneapolis. But if the Earth were flat, I would see Minneapolis all the time. Like, the curvature of the Earth is such that I can't see Minneapolis from my house. But if the Earth were flat, I would see the skyscrapers from my house. Like, I would see them. You would see lots of things. You would see lots of things. They would have to
convince every pilot on the Earth that they're not trying to overcome the curvature of the Earth when they fly a plane. And like you have to do that even for a trip that's a couple 100 miles long. So you're not talking only about the pilots that fly around the world. You're talking about all the bushwhack pilots. And there's a lot of them. I have a friend
the Alaskan bush pilots.
Yeah. I have a friend who owns a plane, who flies routinely around. And he's like, even going 130 miles, you have to accommodate for the curvature of the Earth to reach your destination, because otherwise you'll just fly off into the fucking space.
Well, yes, and I'm not saying the Earth is flat, and I'm saying even ancient astronomers knew the Earth was round through their deductions and their math and things like that. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying let's for a moment assume the Earth was flat. The reason I can't see Minneapolis skyscrapers from my house doesn't have anything to do with smog or pollution or anything like that. It's because the curvature of the Earth does not allow me to see them because, you know what I mean? Like, they're not on the same view as me. Like, my eyesight or like my eye line won't see them. Mm-hmm. But if the Earth were flat, I would see them in the distance. If I'm on a high hill, I can see them because the high hill allows me to see further than the curvature of the Earth goes. And look, I'm not a math person, right? So I don't know. All I know is I can't see them from my house, but if I drive a couple miles south, I can see them, but I can't see them here. But if the Earth were flat, I would see them all the time. And you would see the New York City skyline for hundreds of miles.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about, like, let's scale it down. Like, my workbench is level, like it's flat. And if I place a small camera at one end, it can see the entirety of the workbench. But that would be how you would be seeing everything ever on the planet. Like, there would be a place in America, possibly in Maine or something, where you might be able to see the Eiffel Tower across the sea. You would see things. There would be a lot of things.
If you had a powerful telescope on the coast of Maine, you should be able to see London for sure. Or potentially the Eiffel Tower or something. Like,
well, yes. Yeah. And that's the whole point is like there'd be so many like things you would see. It'd be so distracting. I mean, it wouldn't really be because if you grew up with that and that was how it actually was, it wouldn't be distracting because you'd be used to it. But think of the things you don't see when you look out at the horizon.
What I don't understand, and this is another level to this, they have the round Earth. They say that the round Earthers are conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, but then they never explain what the profit, like what's the benefit to having a round Earth as a conspiracy? Like why is the government and all the pilots and all the people who are scientists and all these ancient scientists, like what is the economic gain? You have to have some sort of gain to try to lie about something.
Yeah.
Right? It can't just be for no reason that everybody who should know that it's flat is lying about it.
So apparently another subset of the flat Earth theory is the no forest theory, where it suggests that ancient trees were destroyed through catastrophic events or human intervention, leaving mountains behind as their remnants. So there are giant forests, apparently, that lived on flat Earth, and they have died or been killed, and that is why there are mountains. So they're taking flat Earth to the ultimate logical conclusion that Earth has been perfectly flat. Like, if you put a bubble level down across miles, it would bubble in the middle. And the only reason there are variations in topography are because the mountains are stumps of ancient forests that are now petrified, I guess.
That is crazy talk.
Dude, man, it is nutso, and this stuff is crazy. A lot of this stuff is. But I think that, I've seen a lot of good memes about the flat Earth where it's like, every other planet in the universe is round, but Earth is like a disc.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense.
I think that they deny the existence of other planets. They would have to.
I don't know. Some of them do. I think some of them say, no, Earth is the only one that's flat.
Interesting.
Maybe.
The round Earth or the flat Earth is definitely a rabbit hole you could fall down into on the YouTube, which I have.
And yeah. And I think that's that's the thing is you can watch these things, and a lot of times these conspiracy theories have to come up with like new and greater conspiracies to kind of fill or rebut the criticisms that they get, and I've definitely seen posts about pilots that are flat earthers, and there's another pilot, he's like, I'm a pilot, one of my coworkers who's also a pilot is a flat earther. So I don't know how they rationalize that in their head, knowing that they have to correct for the curvature of the Earth.
Why would ships, like if you were on the ocean and a ship goes away from you, why would you stop seeing the ship?
Well, that's what I mean about,
like,
you'd be seeing everything all the time. You'd be seeing the pyramids. You'd be seeing New York. You'd be seeing the Eiffel Tower. If there was no curvature of the Earth, you'd see everything all the time, depending on weather and like haze and smog conditions. You'd see everything all the time.
There are lakes that you can't see across because of the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
even in Minnesota here, Lake Mille Lacs, you can't see across it.
Yeah, yes, you cannot see across Mille Lacs Lake.
Yeah, so but it's fun. Like the Earth is flat. I don't know who started that or why it would even be a thing. Like honestly, you can't tell me the sun is round, every other single star is round, every other planet we've observed is round, but the Earth, hey, that one's flat. Like I'm sorry that you didn't win that cruise to Antarctica. It's ice. And there's some penguins there or something. I don't know. Like, okay. I feel bad for you. Your life dream of going to someplace cold with penguins is not going to happen. So,
yes.
The other one I've seen is, this one wasn't one I was planning on talking about, but there is a kind of a big conspiracy going around right now, recently anyway, that Justin Trudeau is actually the son of Fidel Castro.
I've seen that one as well.
And there are pictures of Justin Trudeau's mother kind of, I don't know if I would say fawning over Castro, but being fairly close and intimate with Castro, which, given political dynasties and things like that, isn't really that far-fetched. I mean, they're all going to be buddy-buddy with one another. They all know
each other, yes.
But they had pictures of Castro younger and Trudeau at the same age, and there are some similarities for sure. But I don't know. You would never know unless you had, Castro's DNA and Trudeau's DNA. So the other one, there's another one where birds aren't real and they're drones made by the government to spy on you. You seen that one, Mike?
I've heard that one before. Yeah, I've heard that one before, which is crazy because people shoot birds all the time. So
yeah, and most things the government does is not efficient and actually doesn't work most of the time. So
I mean, that would be some pretty advanced drone technology that was being talked about in like ancient literature and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's like hieroglyphs of birds. So
yes. But apparently the bird thing is satire. So it was invented by Peter McIndoe, a 24-year-old college dropout. And he portrays a megaphone-carrying cowboy wearing character. And so basically his intention was to take the concept of misinformation and then kind of building a safe space for people to come together and laugh about it. But people have kind of taken it to the extent of it's actually real. So, I don't really want to talk about the moon landing as fake because that's a big one. I think the best thing I've ever seen to refute that was if you've seen the Mummy Scorpion King in the CGI in that from like 2000 era, it was terrible. And then they're like, yes, so you think they could do that in 1960, whatever? Like, no way.
I think that the conspiracy was that they filmed it in black and white in the desert of Arizona and that they had Stanley Kubrick do it with
yeah. No,
special effects, but not like computer-generated effects, like real effects or whatever.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that too.
Not that I'm a proponent
Kubrick
of the moon landing conspiracy or whatever.
No, I mean, you could make the argument, but how are you getting the blue marble picture?
Right.
How are you doing any of that?
Laser beams to reflect off of purposefully placed mirrors on the moon.
Yeah. And why?
They would fake it to make the Soviets believe that we had missile technology capable of going to the moon. But
for sure. But it would be better to really go there and then fake the missile thing, right? Like, that's the whole point of lies. You have to have just enough stuff that's true, and then you can like embellish a bit. It's the same thing with the radar in World War II. Is America pushed out all this propaganda that they were feeding their pilots all these carrots to improve their eyesight at night, but really they invented radar, and they didn't want the Axis powers to know that they invented radar. So they were just saying that the pilots were eating all these carrots. And I mean, carrots do have some beneficial vitamins and things for eyesight, but you could never eat enough carrots to be able to emulate radar. So there's like there's a little bit of truth, but then there's the huge lie. Right. And a lot of people nowadays still think that if you eat carrots, your eyesight's going to be better. And there's vitamins that will help your eyes, but it's not going to drastically improve anything. You know what I mean? Unless you eat enough carrots to turn your skin orange. Like the flamingos eating the shrimp. Like, flamingos aren't pink naturally. They're pink because they eat enough shrimp.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff. Let's see. The other one is that we are currently living in a black hole. That the Earth was swallowed by a black hole, and we are now living in a black hole. Which I guess would be tough to prove or disprove.
Right.
There's really no way to tell, I guess, right?
No. I mean, that's like something that you can say whatever you want,
Well, yeah.
It's kind of like simulation theory. I mean, you can't disprove it.
Yeah, you really can't. Like, how would you disprove simulation theory?
Right.
I know that there's another one about, the reptile people.
Oh, yeah. Lizard people?
Yeah, lizard people.
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, most recently I've seen it about Mark Zuckerberg.
I like it because it's a great descriptor of how elites act. Like, it's kind of an allegorical thing.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have to actually be lizard people, but they're definitely not you and me people.
Right. Like, that's a fact.
Well, yeah. And Bill Gates proved it because he was on a show where he was asked to describe, or guess the cost of, shampoo. And he was way off. What shampoo cost. And there were some people that were like, oh, that's so cute. Bill Gates doesn't know what shampoo costs. And there were other people that were saying hey man, this is one of the elites controlling everything and he doesn't know what things cost. And that's not cute. He's not like a cute billionaire. He's an out of touch person.
Right.
That is controlling things for the rest of us who have to deal with the actual cost of shampoo. Or whatever it was, right? I don't remember what it was. The Mark Zuckerberg thing. I don't know if you saw this. This is a couple years old, maybe more. I don't know. Do you get this thing, Mike, where the older you get, the more time kind of condenses into, that might have been 2 years ago, it might have been 20 years ago? I'm not sure.
Oh, for sure, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's proof we're living in a simulation. I don't know. But anyway, Mark Zuckerberg did this interview thing, and they were filming around his house, and he had a bottle of A1 steak sauce or something on his bookshelf. In a weird place you would never put steak sauce, or whatever kind of sauce it was. I don't know if it was steak sauce or Tabasco sauce or who gives a shit. But he had this bottle of sauce somewhere. If you saw it in that location, you would think that either AI or an alien was trying to emulate how an average person would live, and they would just keep that out on a bookshelf in the middle of their immaculately cleaned living room.
Right.
And the probable explanation is he was probably backing down on some whatever fucking fries or some shit, and he was dipping them in there and he put it back up on the shelf because he didn't give two fucks because his maid's going to come clean it the next day. But they took it as Mark Zuckerberg's like, what would a human have in their living room on their shelf? Oh, it would be a bottle of steak sauce because humans love A1 steak sauce and blah, blah, blah. And that would be something like AI would think too, right? Like AI would analyze humanity and be like, yeah, they love fucking ranch dressing and they love steak sauce and they love like barbecue sauce. Like, sure, of course. Why wouldn't they have that in their living room? Not bothering to think like, well, if you don't refrigerate it, it goes bad and blah, 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 and all these other things, right? Like all the other like normal things that you think about. Like I spent $8 on this bottle of fucking sauce that's going in the fucking fridge because I'm going to drink every last drop of it or eat every last drop of it and not waste any of it. So, right. I mean, that's a very adequate, maybe lizard people are true. And not that they're lizards, but they're definitely a different echelon of humanity, I guess.
All right. Like when you get that rich, your life is not the same, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't revolve around $8 bottles of steak sauce, for sure.
No.
Do you have any other crazy conspiracies that you would like to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Then let's go for the true ones. We have 11 true ones here. Do you have enough cigar left for 11?
Probably not. We could definitely do another episode about true.
Nah, we'll go quick because we talked about some of these already on previous episodes.
Oh, sure.
These are quick ones. So number 11, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. This has been declassified for a while. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service conspired with the Tuskegee Institute to create a phony syphilis treatment program. And basically, they lied to about 400 African-American men who had been diagnosed with syphilis. And they were given dangerous chemicals and painful, unnecessary medical procedures under the guise of treatment. Basically, they were told that penicillin was not a known cure, even though it was at the time. And they just wanted to learn more about the disease and its full course of whatnot. And we've talked about the Tuskegee briefly on other episodes. You can look this up more, but these have all been kind of proven true with, Freedom of Information Acts and other things. So number 10 is the MK Ultra. CIA mind control, and this was in the 1950s, and they were dosing unwitting citizens with LSD. And we've talked about that one too, I think, for sure.
Yes, we did.
If you have anything to add on these, let me know. Otherwise, I'll go on to the next one here. The next one, I don't think I've heard of this one before, but the 1990 testimony of Naira. Have you heard of this one, Mike?
No.
So I guess in October of 1990, there was a 15-year-old girl named Naira who offered testimony to the United States Congress, stating that she had witnessed Iraqi soldiers taking 15 Kuwaiti babies out of incubators and leaving them on the floor to die. And this was aired all over the United States, and President George Bush Sr. repeated the story at least 10 times to try and sway public opinion to supporting the Gulf War. But it came out that the events described by this Naira were a complete fabrication, and the CIA requested that this girl take acting lessons before she testified. And it was also discovered that she was the daughter of the Kuwait ambassador to the United States. So they were basically pumping for support for the Gulf War.
Sure.
Which was definitely during my time, but I was so young. I was 4 in 1990. So I was not aware of things of this nature going on. And I don't know, it sounds like you might not have been either.
No.
But it's been proven to be a true conspiracy. The next one is, and you might have heard of this one, Operation Snow White.
No.
Okay. This is the 1970s. 5,000 covert agents from L. Ron Hubbard, the sci-fi writer, the Church of Scientology person, conspired to perform the largest infiltration of the U.S. government in American history. So the church infiltrated 136 organizations, including the IRS, the DEA, foreign embassies, and other government agencies. They installed wiretaps and they stole hundreds of documents. And they were trying to protect their church from paying millions of dollars in taxes. But in July of 1977, the FBI organized a raid of various Scientology locations involving 156 agents, and they found all of these other documents and additional conspiracies against enemies of the church. But on December 1979, they ended when Mary Sue Hubbard, the wife of L. Ron Hubbard, and 10 other high-ranking Scientologists received a 5-year prison sentence. And L. Ron Hubbard remained an unindicted co-conspirator and spent the rest of his life in hiding because of his attempt to infiltrate the United States government.
Huh.
That sounds like too fantastical to be true, but it's true. I knew he was a Scientology nut job, even though he wrote a lot of sci-fi books and things.
Yes. I've heard the conspiracy that Scientology was created as a part of a bet.
Yeah, that could be true, too. Scientology is strange in the sense that you pay to move up in levels of holiness, I guess.
Yes.
If you're not aware of the precepts of Scientology, or I would say Mormonism, watch the 2 episodes of South Park. There's one on Mormons, which is hilarious and seems super fake, but everything they talk about is true. Like, it's absolutely true. They're not making anything up. And the Scientology one, they're not making anything up. Like, it's all true. They don't have to make anything up. It's that ridiculous. Unless you're a Scientologist or a Mormon who wants to contribute drastically to the show and change Mike and my lifestyle for all eternity, then we love Mormons and Scientologists. But if you're not, then it's the most ridiculous stuff you've ever heard of, ever.
Right.
All right, we're going to chomp through these next bits because I can hear Mike's fingers getting warm. The next one is...
I have to relight.
Yeah, okay. CIA assassinations. So 1975, after the Watergate scandal, Senator Frank Church helped form the precursor to the United States Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, and it was commonly referred to as the Church Committee. Their purpose was to investigate the CIA and FBI to make sure they were operating within the law. They quickly discovered that the CIA had started a hitman business, as most organizations do when they get that big. The CIA was responsible for assassinations in Iran of Mossadegh Allende in Chile, which I remember from Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So that was proven true, as well as a lot of other leaders and revolutionaries in Central and South America, Africa, and the Middle East and Eastern Asia. They made the assassinations look like car accidents, suicides, cancers, and heart attacks. When their declassified heart attack gun wasn't necessary, they would just shoot the targets with actual bullets. It's all part of the congressional record. But it's still common for people, the U.S. citizenry, to laugh this off as nutty conspiracy theories, even though there's documented proof of all of these things happening.
It's easy to deny, even with evidence.
It's easy to deny, yeah. This next one, number 6, fascism in America. 1933, Senator Prescott Bush, father of George Bush Sr. and grandfather of George W. Bush, tried to create a military coup against Franklin D. Roosevelt and install a fascist dictatorship in the United States. It included wealthy businessmen from Chase Bank, Goodyear, Standard Oil, GM, and the DuPont family.
We covered that on the show a little bit as well.
A little bit, yeah. Marine Corps Major General Smedley Butler was asked to lead the coup, but nobody did a background check on him. He was a vocal supporter of FDR, and he gathered evidence of the conspiracy and presented it to the Congressional Committee, and everybody implicated denied it. But the committee confirmed Butler's allegations, and they were kind of satisfied with having stopped it before it started. But the people who backed it maintained financial ties with Nazi Germany until the United States entered World War II. Another, I don't know, what do you call it, check mark in the column for the government or people in power will always seek to better themselves rather than protect the American populace.
Oh, yes. All
right, number 5, Operation Mockingbird. Have you heard of this one, Mike?
I've heard the word, but I can't remember what it's about.
All right. 1948, Frank Wisner was appointed director of Operation of Special Projects and told to create an organization that was capable of producing propaganda and engaging in economic warfare as part of the global war against Soviet communism. The CIA took control of this office in the 50s and maintained a secret campaign to influence media for almost 25 years. Wisner owned respected members of the New York Times, Newsweek, CBS, and other media outlets. And so basically he was pumping propaganda of the dangers of communism and facilitated the 1954 animated Hollywood production of George Orwell's Animal Farm. The Church Committee exposed the conspiracy in 1975 and calculated that the misinforming the world cost the taxpayers, not you and I, but our parents, grandparents, around $265 million a year since the 50s. So 25 years at $265 million a year to keep that going. Chump change, Mike. But they can't forgive student loans. Much. That'd be too much money.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this one is, the number 4 is COINTELPRO, the FBI versus 1960s activists. So the 1960s, there's a big counterculture, and it bloomed into a full-grown anti-establishment phenomenon that spread. And so the FBI created COINTELPRO, COINTELPRO, or the Counterintelligence Program, for the purpose of protecting national security, preventing violence, and maintaining the existing social and political order. So it was to illegally disrupt dissident political organizations within the United States. According to FBI records, 85% of the program's resources were spent on marginalizing, infiltrating, and disrupting groups such as women's rights movement, nonviolent civil rights movement, and the Congress of Racial Equality, the American Indian Movement, and other civil rights groups. So basically, they're fighting against people that just want a fair shake in life. Number 3, I'm sure you're aware of, maybe not by name, Operation Paperclip.
Oh, yes.
Yep. This is basically after 1945, all of the Nazi scientists were kind of granted amnesty, right? And if they were to come over and work with us. So basically, Werner von Braun, Arthur Rudolph, and Herbotus Strughold, they were listed as a menace to the security of Allied forces, would not be allowed to find employment in America, but the government decided that they were of vital importance to the United States rocket program. And they created false employment and political biographies for all of them so that we could then advance ourselves beyond the Nazi capabilities.
The Canadians did the same thing.
Yep. Number 2, Operation Northwoods.
Yes.
So they were, the United States government was involved in a lot of different conspiracies in the 50s and 60s. Operation Northwoods might have been the top of them all. But in 1962, the CIA planned to stage terrorist attacks on American citizens and military targets in Miami and Washington, blame it on Cuba, and convince the American public to wage war on Cuba, which, under the direction of Fidel Castro, had become communists. So basically, this was a plan to stage terrorist attacks on American citizens to garner support for a war, which has, luckily, this has no echoes or shades of the war on terror and 9/11, thank goodness. But it was kind of killed by JFK, and thankfully the CIA did not kill JFK. So that is good.
I think there might have been recent evidence to contradict that statement.
Man, I told you the conspiracy theories get into a giant wormhole.
Our government in the past was very into conspiring to cause political events. Gulf of Tonkin is another one.
Thank goodness they're no longer doing that.
Yeah, it's not like they got better at it.
Wink, wink. But this whole thing is like, people will be like, yeah, the CIA was terrible in 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, but not now. Not now. They're not bad. They're still good. They're good now. They had some mishaps in the past, but they're reformed now. Yeah,
ever since Barack Obama took over, the United States government's been completely legitimate and on board.
Thanks, Obama. Number 1 of the unbelievable conspiracy theories that were actually proven true, and this is from HowStuffWorks.com. Bohemian Grove.
Yes, Alex Jones. Alex Jones, baby. Yes.
All right. So it's basically the mystery surrounding Bohemian Grove in Mont Rio, California. Apparently been a favorite topic amongst conspiracy theorists for a lot of years. The stories usually involve rich and powerful men meeting in the woods every year where they engage in pagan rituals and worship a giant stone owl. The owl reportedly plays voice recordings of member Walter Cronkite. So basically, CBS, NBC, and ABC have confirmed the existence of the Grove. It was formed in 1872, this Bohemian Club, and it received attention and funding from wealthy businessmen who are not corporatists at all. In 1942, the Grove hosted a meeting for the Manhattan Project that led to the creation of the atomic bomb. It's true that the most powerful men in the world go there and perform strange rituals in front of a giant owl. I guess it's mostly just a place for powerful men to behave like drunken frat boys. But, as we all know, anytime you get a bunch of powerful men together, it shapes the reality for the rest of us who are not rich and powerful men.
The Bohemian Grove was talked about by Nixon in his recordings, FYI. Yeah. I'm not sure if you picked that up in your research, but he was not a fan.
I didn't.
He was not a fan. I'm not going to repeat what he said.
Repeat it. He probably wasn't invited.
No, he was there. He was there. I'm not allowed to say what he said because it was very inflammatory. I suggest that everybody look it up. Yeah, he was not a fan. Let's put it that way. So
Yeah.
And Alex Jones, I don't know if you watched the footage, Alex Jones infiltrated the Bohemian Grove and got some of the crazy ritual stuff on video.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how he broke his career back in the day when he was still doing local access in like San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any conspiracies that we didn't mention, Mike? I mean, there's so many of them. It's hard
There's so many of them.
Bring them all in, and there's a lot of true ones for sure.
The Gulf of Tonkin was a big one that started off the Vietnam War, where the Navy sunk its own ship and claimed that it was attacked by the Vietnamese, which was ridiculous even at the time.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of
a lot of times, I mean, for the government, for government conspiracies, a lot of times all they need to do is whip up just enough public fervor about the event, and they can get away with a lot of things, which is very reminiscent of the shock doctrine, which is episode 1 of our third season here. So I'm inclined, and more of these things that we kind of look into, the more research we do into these things. Like we were talking about Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and we were like, well, it could be, or we don't know. But when we have true conspiracy theories proven true that they executed the Chilean president, which he talked about at length in his book, what does that mean for the rest of the things that he puts forth?
Right.
RFK Jr.'s book, what does that mean for his book if some of those things have been proven true? Or when we were reviewing the book, we said if even one of the things he even talks about is proven true, it's a huge bombshell. If even one of the multitude of things he talks about is true, it's huge.
Right.
What does that mean? I think the most true conspiracy theory out there is that the two-party system exists to keep every other party off the docket and to keep the American populace fighting against the two parties that currently exist in power.
Right. And the conspiratorial part is that the elected officials are working for the same team. They all have the same donors. I mean, if
well, and it's proven. You said that the big powers that be in corporate America contribute the same dollar amount to both parties.
Yep. Yes, they do. They don't care who wins. As long as they have that person in their pocket. That's what matters.
Why would they care?
Doesn't matter. Just think of the political issues that we fight so vocally about in public, the public sphere. And they're mostly nonsense issues. They don't affect any policy change. It's like there's no discussion of real issues. Very rarely. Yeah.
And we didn't mention this at the top, but I've been drinking the Badger Hill Brewing Trader IPA, which I did not realize was 7%. So if I'm a little passionate or emotional, it's only because I love Mike and the whole world can know it. It has nothing to do with the booze, I assure you.
Yes. And I have been drinking water. So there we go.
Damn it, Mike. Damn it. No, I'm just kidding. But conspiracy theories are so weird because there's been enough of them proven true. With that being said, the earth is not flat. There's no other way I can tell you this. Ancient Greece knew this, right, Mike? I mean, ancient people knew this. Like they could prove the earth was not flat.
Right.
It doesn't take a giant leap of faith to believe that the earth is round. It shouldn't really even be up for debate. Do you know, Mike, did the simulation theory exist before the Matrix movie came out?
Yes. It was started by a philosopher named Descartes. It was a French philosopher from, I want to say, the 18th century. That's like the first inkling of it. Where he was like, had made a whole treatise about, the meaning of life and what it would mean if he were in fact made out of glass. And he would analyze that. Or
sure,
instead of a human being, he was a gourd, and how maybe the existence of God is really just like we're just in the mind of God and not a physical being at all. Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because a lot of the media that I enjoy are based off of kind of older or I don't even want to say cultural, but maybe like human thoughts. Right. And so it's very human to think maybe my life is just a simulation of somebody, whether it be God or AI or a computer program or aliens or what have you. But we didn't talk about, the conspiracy theories that the pyramids were created by aliens or Stonehenge was aliens or those kind of things. I'm not saying go out and believe conspiracy theories, but they're very entertaining, especially the gum chewing one.
Right. That's ridiculous.
It's completely ridiculous. If it's something that kind of like prompts you out of your day-to-day routine and causes you to think, I think it's a win. Even if it's ridiculous. And even if you say, I would never believe that, but damn, that's interesting. Like, why would gum be the only thing that were allowed from outside the simulation? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And, I don't know, follow some of those thoughts and do some research of your own, I guess, is my thought. Please don't believe all the conspiracy theories, even though we gave you 11 that are true. I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts on conspiracy theories, Mike? Profound. Or even like mildly found?
No, I don't think so. I enjoy conspiracy theories, and some of them are ridiculous, and some of them are pretty much true.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the old Alex Jones turning the frogs gay moment, right? Like, it was made fun of, but it ended up being true. So there we go, right?
Yep. Well, and wasn't there one that was proven true about the rich elite drinking like blood of newborns or something?
No, I don't think that's true. They were doing blood transfusions.
Well, yeah, but they were doing blood transfusion, so they weren't like drinking it. But it turned out that it was proven that they were doing like these blood transfusions from younger people that was actually showing some medical benefits, I think. I don't know if it was 100% true or not, but it came out that they actually were doing these things. Not that they were drinking blood, but I don't want to say in every conspiracy theory there's like a grain of truth, because I can't really justify the flat earth thing or the phantom time thing. But like when it comes to the government, I'm far more apt to believe that conspiracy theory is at least somewhat true.
Oh, sure. Anything involving the government, we know that they're bad actors for the most part. The government is not a moral actor. So the ends justify the means in every case.
Yes. And the ends are basically keep the people that aren't politicians and in the ruling class poor, and keep the politicians rich, wealthy, and happy.
Yes.
And did you buy your most recent ticket to Epstein Island? Oh, you didn't? Well, why don't I get my donors to buy that for you?
Something like that.
I don't know. Something like that. I guess you could say the Epstein didn't kill himself is almost a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a conspiracy theory.
It doesn't follow the government's accounting of facts of that. But I think if you look at that, like, I'm 100% on board with that, because it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's like a conspiracy out in the open, right? It gets pretty ridiculous that in a federal lockdown state, that in a federal lockdown that someone could kill himself. And there's other circumstantial evidence, like there being guards who weren't normally there and the cameras not working. Yeah. And there's a lot of coincidences all working together. And the fact that they won't tell us who the other prisoners in the block were. And you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of coincidences.
Mike, I am burning my fingers on this one. This one I truly enjoyed. This one was really good. I think
it's really good, yeah. I liked it. It was spicy.
Yes.
It was smooth. It wasn't smooth. It was spicy and peppery and dark. And it was pretty much the same throughout.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
The very beginning was rough, but that was only the first half inch. Same with the other one. So if you like the kind of, I don't know if mellow is the right word for the Shamrock that we smoked last episode, but this one, the Black Market, this is one, if I see this again, I would definitely buy it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would buy it.
I wouldn't necessarily buy the Shamrock, having now smoked the Black Market. If both of them were available, I would buy the Black Market. It's good. It was well worth the investment of, let's just say, and I bought this a year ago, and inflation's been crazy, so it could have been a $12 stick, it could have been a $18 stick. I don't know. If it was a $20 stick, I would still buy one. It wouldn't be an everyday. It would be a special occasion with the shelf appeal, with the price point. But for me and my taste preferences, the Black Market is definitely the winner of the two limited edition runs. If you like something a little milder, even though the Shamrock is still dark, but if you like something a little milder, not spicy, Shamrock is a decent thing. I wouldn't go out and buy a box of them. I wouldn't go buy a box of these either, because I think the V660 or other cigars fit the same bill. But if you want kind of a splurge stick, the black market is a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, if you have any other conspiracies that you would like us to investigate, look into, you can comment us on our Facebook or our Patreon or our website. You're able to comment us there too. And there might be another episode on conspiracy theories. We don't know. There's so many out there. It's hard to cover them all in one episode, especially when a lot of them spawn other conspiracies within the conspiracies. Which is a lot like Dune. Plots within plots within plots. So the spice must flow. And if you like spice, the filthy hooligan black market has plenty of spice for you. Thanks for listening.
Be safe, have fun.